was My Little Pony, My Little Pony.
Hi. So, you might know me as that girl who really hates thin women. Which is funny. Don't hate thin women. Recently, actually it wasn't that recently, it's just been reblogged a lot lately. I made this post in response to a person who denied their thin privilege and essentially called me an angry fat bitch. Well, although true, is not necessarily entirely true. See, the thing is, I might be fat, and I might be angry, and I might be a bitch, but thin privilege is a real thing. For instance, I'm fat. Because I am fat, there is a whole list of things that happen to me that don't happen to thin people solely based on my size. Now, I could go over a huge list and tell you of all the ways that I get treated like shit because I'm fat, but I really don't have the time, and quite frankly, neither do you. Thin women can be made fun of. Thin women can be made to feel shitty. But they do not experience institutional, cultural, or individual oppression because of their size. They may be called twig thin, but they will never be made to pay for 2 airplane seats. They will never be made to be a symbol of grotesqueness, of laziness, of general unsexualness. They will never be seen as undesirable and used as a symbol for that. Their bodies will be seen on magazine covers, their bodies will be seen in the media, they will be equally represented and held as the standard for beauty. Fat women don't get that. I don't see people like me in the media, and when I do, it's watching Pitch Perfect when Rebel Wilson says, "I'm horizontal running," because apparently fat people are incapable of being active. Which, I don't know, that's not true for me. I don't think it's true for a lot of fat people.
But yet at the same time, we live in a world that is not made for people who are fat. Airplanes, buses, chairs in people's homes. It must be difficult.
It is difficult, and those are the things that we are seeking to change. We're changing the paradigm that we are not the problem. The problem is that our world doesn't accommodate a diversity of bodies. So that's what we need to change, not so much changing who we are and changing our body, but instead changing society. I think that exercising is good, activity is good. My thought is that weight needs to be set aside, and that regardless if I gain, lose, or stay the same, that's not important to me. What's important to me is that I'm getting the nourishment, the nutrition, the sleep, the activity that my body needs. There is nothing you can tell by a person by noting their body size except their body size. You don't know their behaviors, you don't know their habits, you don't know their health.
I think that people have a blanket idea that all fat people are unhealthy and all fat people are unfit and all fat people are miserable, whereas we are not one person, we are a group of individuals, and each individual has their own relationship to their health and their bodies. I have an incredibly engaged physical activity, and I'm the size that I am.
Julius, you're a fitness trainer. What do you think of Jenny and Dorothy being happy with their bodies?
I think that's fantastic. Are you healthy? Have you been to the doctors and they've told you that you're healthy?
Well, I think that's quite a loaded question because I don't think anyone here who's thin is going to be asked that. So I guess that's what I would say to that answer, that we have to look as well at the assumptions that are made. And I would say you can't actually tell someone's lifestyle or health by looking at them. I do think that there's such a health focus in our country that I call it healthism, a kind of moral obligation for people to be healthy. And I think that we have to watch that too.
But isn't that because it costs taxpayers a lot of money if the population isn't healthy? People have to go to hospital, they have various kinds of diseases. Isn't that part of the reason why there's that focus?
Well, perhaps, and but I also think that there's very much a focus on fat and health in our culture, on obesity and health.
Yeah, it's interesting that you've just assumed that I eat bad food because of my size.
No, I'd love to know, because if you're really healthy, do you have any joint issues, or so you're completely...
I swim 2.5 kilometres a day. Yeah. I walk, I exercise all the time. I am in a synchronised swimming team, and I really resent the fact that I have to actually justify my existence and my ability to live in the world in a bigger body.
Hi, my name's Kath Reid. I'm a fat activist in Brisbane. I blog at Fat Heffalump, where I've been blogging for about 5 years. And it's my goal to change the way people think about fatness. I discovered fat acceptance probably about 6 years ago. I think it was on Twitter that somebody must have retweeted an article. And as per anything on the internet, you read one and the vortex gets you, and you read the next thing and the next thing. It was kind of like a light bulb went on, and that was when I started to think that perhaps it could apply to me. I'm not the expert on societal health. I am the expert on living in my body. I'm not a disease, and I'm not diseased. This is the body that I come in.
Fat people so often offend others in society, and I find that it's one of the last socially acceptable prejudices.
I absolutely agree with you on that one, but what about people who are concerned about you? I mean, there might be people concerned you're going to keel over and die because maybe your body, your heart won't be able to sustain all the enthusiasm that you have.
That's true. I do have a lot of enthusiasm. I think that the concern for health is often a mask to discriminate or to be cruel to fat people. I think there are actually very few people in my life who care and love me enough to be genuinely concerned about my health. And as far as my health goes, I would like to break some stereotypes about fat people, because even at 380 pounds, I'm certainly not naive to the health risks that may come if I stay this weight. But I have no major health problems. I've never even had high blood pressure.
Yet, Whitney.
Right, yet.
NAFA doesn't allow diet talk at its meetings. They believe health and size are two separate issues.
I think by making health and weight the same thing, and by confusing those two, we're damaging everybody, because fat people are then the enemy, and thin people are told they're healthy no matter what, which we know isn't the case.
Aw, you look so cute.
NAFA members are encouraged to go as public as possible. They glam it up at photo sessions. They do ballet, and there's even a belly dancing troupe.
I don't limit myself. I don't say just because I'm fat, I can't dance. Well, I can. I may not have good rhythm, but I can dance.
The next big event for NAFA, some head-turning fun in the sun.
Our group's going to get together. We're going to go take back the beach, wear some bikinis, have a great day on the beach, and probably get a lot of people to give us second glances, but that's good because we're challenging beauty ideals and they need to be challenged.
I'm Cecily. I'm a writer. I am very interested in popular culture, digital culture. I'm a bit of a pop culture snob. The fat acceptance movement is just a population of people who either are fat and have accepted it as okay and not inherently problematic, or people who are not fat who also accept that notion and who support the rights of fat people to exist and have success and happiness without stigma. I think that that's been one of the most helpful things, is that people can see themselves just living life and enjoying the things around them without having to be consumed by this notion that their bodies are holding them back. So much of the stigma about fatness comes from outside sources. It's years and years and years of conditioning about what is wrong with fatness and what is wrong with being in a fat body that needs to be laid out on the table and unpackaged for what it is.
We live in a culture where being fat is seen as being a bad person. Lazy, greedy, unhealthy, irresponsible, and morally suspect. And we tend to see thinness as being universally good, responsible, successful, and in control of our appetites, bodies, and lives. But we must question it, because the enormous value we place on how we look affects every one of us. And do we really want to live in a society where people are denied their basic humanity if they don't subscribe to some arbitrary form of acceptable?
It was My Little Pony.